I saw one from Nathan, and I think there was some other ones. So yeah, I don't want to lose your questions.
Okay, so now that all of us are here and time has started, let's do a round of introductions real quick now that more of the team is here for everyone, and then I'll field the Q&A. So I'll start. Amy June, I go by Volkswagen Chick across Drupal.org, and I am serving as sort of the mentor liaison, making sure that people who want to contribute have a face to go to kind of figure out where they can go next. Sasha?
Should I? Right. So I'm Sasha Eckenberger. I'm Sasha Ecke on Drupal.org. I'm a designer, and I'm with the Claro part of the initiative until now, mostly involved together with Christina.
I go next. Okay, that's all. I'm Christina. I work for Lullabot. I'm from Barcelona, and I worked on the Claro initiative. On the Claro part of this initiative for, I've been working here for a while, and yeah, on the design side, and also a bit of the front end also there.
Yeah. I'm Emily Nuvo, Diane Nova on Drupal.org and Drupal. And I work at Civic Actions, and I work on the layout initiative. So I'm going to pass to Tim.
Yeah, and I'm Tim Plunkett. I live in Philadelphia. I work at Acquia at the Drupal Acceleration team. And Emily and I were co-leads of the layout initiative. And I was the primary developer on Layout Builder.
Cool. So I'm going to start with some questions that were asked when we were giving the keynote. Kyle asked, is there a time frame when Claro might be stable?
Well, actually, not a time frame. We have a ticket which basically outlines the roadmap, and we have a lot of stable blockers still open. A lot of them need review. Some of them need work. And once we basically tick all of those issues, we can, like move forward for a stable release.
Okay, a couple questions kind of tied together. What's the difference between Layout Builder and panels? And how much is Layout Builder similar or different from panels?
I can jump in and take this one. So for anyone that's familiar with both panels and display suite, Layout Builder sort of sits in between the two. Panels by default in Drupal 7 was more about taking over or creating custom landing pages, and then through Panelizer module became a tool for editing or customizing your content layout. Whereas display suite was specifically only ever just a new way to lay out your fields. So it was Emily's idea to start with so Layout Builder was based on Panelizer in that sense, but grew from there. And the main reason we started over was because the Drupal 8 block system, block plugin system, was written from the ground up, and that Layout Builder is sort of a Panelizer-based approach on that, but written with content creators in mind as like the first priority.
Anna asked, do you need to be using Layout Builder to use the new Chin Future UI admin theme?
I think that's a question for Sasha.
The short answer is no. Well, you can use it. You can use Claro. You can use whatever backend theme you want. So there's no rely on a specific theme here. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I don't know if the question was about something in Jin or something in Layout Builder, but Layout Builder is theme agnostic. And if there's magic secrets in Jin, I'm sure they work well with Layout Builder.
Yeah, I mean, for at least for Claro and for Chin, for Layout Builder, there are specific modules. So there is Claro LB and there is Chin LB, which will further improve the experience with either of the two themes. Like that it integrates more nicely. But I think like the long-term goal is to, at least for now, as a first step, to integrate the Layout Builder nicely with Claro. And as like Chin builds on top of Claro, so this is a given that things improve there as well.
Emmons asked, is easy out of the box trying to do anything in the DevOps area? Because as a new user, the area of the auto build container for local development and link to hosting is hard.
That's a fair question. The short answer is no. We're definitely currently focused on these sort of end user editorial experience improvements. But stealing the name easy out of the box is kind of bold if we're only going to do those things. So I don't think that the initiative is sort of already on its way, but there's more. I'm more than happy to help promote some of these other issues to make Drupal easy to use under our banner. But it's definitely not a current focus. There is a lot of other work going on with the composer modernizations and whatnot that are going to benefit, especially coming through from the automatic updates side of Drupal, that are going to make things better. So there's hope there.
Display Suite, works with AMP. Does Layout Builder work with AMP?
Layout Builder doesn't have anything specific to cater to AMP. Drupal core doesn't have anything specific to cater to AMP. So if there's a contributed module, this is sort of an interesting inversion of control. When with contrib, it ends up being a display suite's responsibility to integrate with AMP. But when it's a core module, it becomes AMP's job, the contrib AMP project to integrate with core. So if there's anything specific that Layout Builder could do to facilitate being AMP compatible or whatever the term is, please open an issue. But yeah, as far as I know, nothing in core speaks directly for AMP.
And here's a Claro question. What is Claro missing that 7 already has? Trying to gauge the dangers, if any, of using Claro on a production site right now.
I can take this one. I would say mainly for the most important modules, Claro is already working, except for paragraphs. It's not that it's not working, it's just that we still need to refine a few styles in there to be able to make the experience smoother, to have like several depths tied together, like paragraphs inside paragraphs inside paragraphs, because the width of the node edit form, for example, might be not wide enough. And that could be, if you're a hard paragraph user, maybe Claro is still not yet there. But for the rest of the things, we have several projects already in production using Claro.
Maybe as a side note, there's this infamous ticket, like this core ticket about the nested paragraphs. So if you use a patch from there, if you're like on an older Drupal version, then a paragraph works totally fine, but you will still maybe need to have this patch applied, at least for now.
And Mike Gifford asks an interesting question. He has a URL there that I can't open. So we might not be able to answer that. He wants to know if this URL is the best place to look for accessibility issues associated with the initiative, because he doesn't see media issues mentioned in there. Now, I know when I was doing issue triage this week, there are some meta tickets in core that involve the media. And so we've tagged some of those easy out of the box. We've tagged some bugs. There's some like contrast issues, but there's a lot of parent tickets that need to be broken down into child tickets. And so that's a lot of work that needs to be done too, is breaking down the issues and making them more digestible chunks so they'll move quicker through the issue queue. Does anyone else have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I do. Just to clarify for Mike, this is slightly confusing. Out of the Box was an initiative that created the Umami demo theme. Easy Out of the Box is the name of this initiative. We kind of just stole their naming style. So if you use the issue tags search on Drupal.org and you look for Out of the Box, you get the wrong initiative. It's not like a partial text search. It's like a taxonomy term. So you have to look for Easy Out of the Box, and that might we might be fighting that battle for a long time. Also, I linked, or Emily's posted links here. That's good. I earlier linked the Claro roadmap. This is the media and layout builder one too.
Posted the link to that accessibility issue that I talked about in the presentation.
Right. Great. Thanks. So yeah, and there's but yeah, Easy Out of the Box with spaces should come up when you search, and that's the tag to use. So.
Miro asks, as Claro is already widely adopted, is there some policy about backwards compatibility of user experience? I'm assuming that's what BC stands for. Maybe some clarification on the question.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Paul is trying to understand how to think of Gin with relation to Claro. Is it correct to think of Gin as the edge version of Claro? When will Gin features be backported to Claro?
It's not the edge version of Claro. It's just like a version which is basically just trying new approaches, and we usually use it as a base for discussions for new features we want to include or not include in Claro in the future. But as mentioned before, like the first goal is to reach stable with Claro. So this is basically like the most important thing, and I think after that we have like a huge backlog of features, also like in terms of layout, how the layout should look like in Claro in the future, which we're basically eager to take on and like work on that. But yeah, as mentioned multiple times, the stable release is the main focus currently. So yeah, there is a relation, but not like it's not the edge version of Claro.
When we were on stage, Marianne asked and said, I've had difficulties trying to use layers, like if I just want it or a section in content, do I need to have it in my template first?
I'm not 100% sure what that means. If Marianne's here, if you could clarify, that would be helpful. Just because of all the nouns in the world that layout builder uses, layers isn't one of them. Like we used every other noun. We kind of started running out at one point.
I believe there was a giant Twitter poll about it because we'd run out of words.
Yeah, I wanted to call it the layout zone as a homage to Top Gun. Welcome to the layout zone, but that got nixed.
Duncan asks, what solutions are there for revisionable layouts that function with workflows?
So there's two parts to that question. First one is revisions with layout, and the second one is workflow. So revisions work with layout builder right now with standard content moderation. But the workflow module, there are, or workspaces, I don't even remember anymore which one's which. There are open issues for those modules and their compatibility. So if you want to clarify which specifically you're talking about, or if you need some links, please follow up. But just to be clear, it works with revisions out of the box. So you can revert your layout changes.
Joe asked about assets for the presentation, and we'll be sharing those with the DA where they can post the slide links to wherever they post them, which I'm assuming is on the session notes. So we'll get that to them today. And then the video should be available in the next couple days for people who are registered for DrupalCon. And then I think after May for people who haven't bought a ticket for DrupalCon. Someone asked, can some pages be locked against editing, such as on the home page?
So the short answer is no. That is something that was discussed, but it hasn't happened yet. And I believe I could dig up an issue to link someone to, whoever asked that. And that is definitely something we talked about. That was something that was there was a previous incarnation of the layout initiative 10 years ago, 8 years ago, somewhere in there. And that was one of the first things they started to work on. And it didn't get finished, and the whole initiative didn't get finished. So we had to start from scratch. So we decided to not make that mistake and not do the hardest thing first. So we have not done that yet. But it is an oft-requested feature, and I'm interested to solve that problem.
Great. Matthew wants to know, who is the developer behind the NSF site and who is working on the NSF site beta site?
Yep, so that's Civic Actions is the team currently doing the development.
See, I ran out of questions in that channel. Does anybody have any other questions or clarifications on the questions we weren't equipped to answer? Like Miro, are you on to clarify your question?
To go a little bit to the one about the backwards compatibility, probably what we could say meanwhile is that we usually will try that to whatever is whatever. So it means that we won't break people's Drupal, whatever is the case.
Yeah, hi. I'm mostly referring to the issue with node form on white screens, and based on number of people complaining about that for months, it definitely broke UX. So how can we make sure that it won't happen? Is there some policy about that, or? It's this issue.
You mean like the max width feature, right? Which limits the maximum width for content elements.
There she is. I was just going to say, Jess.
Hey, yeah. So I can briefly describe what the backwards compatibility policy is for experimental modules and themes. Keep in mind, unlike Layout Builder and Media, Claro is experimental. It's in a beta experimental status. So what that means is that we provide backwards compatibility for APIs, but there's a caveat for that, which is that for internal themes like Claro, like Bardic, like Seven and Olivero, the can change in minor releases because they're internal themes. It's not like stable or classy where backwards compatibility is guaranteed throughout the major version cycle. So that's something to keep in mind if you're extending it. Now, part of the goal of having beta experimental modules and themes is that we actually still want to be able to iterate on and resolve issues with the user interface. So like the issue with the node form in particular, which I also remember reading about, that may and will change. This is one of the risks of using experimental modules and themes in production, is that while we won't break your code, the user interaction patterns may change. And especially for a theme, which again, like we don't guarantee BC, you can expect that that may change again, and other elements of it as Claro works through and resolves issues with the roadmap that are outstanding for other elements. Those other, especially if you're using it in production, the user interactions may change, and it might also break contributed modules, because as Tim mentioned earlier, it's the contributed modules' responsibility to keep up with Claro. This can even happen in minor releases after it's marked stable. So there you go.
Yeah, I do realize Claro is still experimental. However, it's widely adopted. Really, a lot of sites is using that. I don't know about anyone using any other theme, to be honest. maybe Gin, but that's still based on Claro. And yeah, Claro is quite long in core, so there is still some policy. How long the module is experimental before it should be
Stable blockers
right?
are resolved. Yep.
Yeah,
The way that helps with this is to help resolve those 10 or 12 stable blockers that are keeping Claro from being marked stable.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
what has to be.
So when so once Claro is stable, can we expect that also it will also apply to UX, or it will only apply to the code?
Again, user interaction patterns can change in minor releases for any core module. Like we make changes, improvements to the node form in minor releases. That said, we have had to roll things back in the past because they were too disruptive. Like we broke many contributed modules when we made a change to the node form. But I think that it will definitely get better. And if there is something that does cause disruptions for sites and or contrib, then the best thing to do is if something regresses in a minor release, report it as a critical issue, and the release management team will address it very quickly. Because we while we want to continue to iterate on user experience in minor releases, we also don't want to create a situation where site owners can't reliably use it. So.
Right.
Yeah, and just to speak to this specific issue, that a regression happened, and so a bug report was opened, and that's how it works. Like I know you're on this issue. Like you and Ben Mullins were working on it recently. And as he said in chat, like it'll hopefully be addressed soon. But yeah, that's the process. When regressions happen, we fix them.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Miro. Appreciate it. And Jess, thank you for coming in with the assist.
Sure thing.
Okay, moving on. Gareth asked, is there a plan to add entity views content provided by Chaos tools into Layout Builder natively?
No, because no one's proposed that. So if you're proposing that, then maybe. If there's a contrib functionality that is, you think is worthy of core inclusion, then that can be proposed. So the proposal process, I can pull up the issue queue. There's an issue queue called ideas, and it's for Drupal core ideas. And sometimes it's usually for larger things, like initiatives, but it can also be for something like pulling in a large chunk of CTools into core. So I would suggest going through this process and proposing that, and then we can go from there. To speak to the actual technical issue itself, I think that it's a powerful tool, and I don't know that it's used on, let's say, like 80% of websites or anything. So I would be hesitant to just say, yeah, let's put it in. Like the contrib module works, so I don't know, that everything that's good in contrib needs to live in core, but it's worth discussing. So hopefully I'll see you in there, Gareth. And also, I know this Drupal Slack has been mentioned a couple of times. This initiative is using Easy out of the box as the Slack channel, but there is a layouts channel where people talk. There's dozens and dozens of layout builder related contrib modules, and there's a lot of discussion in there. So that's another good place to come chat.
I think that's most of the questions, although Peter has another, I think, DevOps question. I wondered if there's a Drupal dedicated host offering Easy out of the box, because he'd really like to try it.
So it doesn't really exist. There's nothing to offer. So all the hosts are offering it. In that, all three, Claro, Layout Builder, and Media Library are all in core. So you can turn them on. And I don't think any hosts have created a thing that turns them on by default. But there's no install time requirements right now for that. So anyone can just run the modules. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't think it's something, that work at that level.
Or you could use Simply Test Me if you don't have like a local environment set up. You can use the Simply Test Me interface to enable all that stuff and kind of test it out and throw it out for free with little impact.
I don't know who said it first, Amy, June, or Gabor, but yeah, it's great.
Is there anything you folks want to say about contributions coming up? Like anything you want specific help with? What issues, or iterate what issues you'd love to kind of push over that edge? I know a couple were mentioned in the keynote. Where can you see people helping this afternoon?
I think the biggest issues that I've seen are around, sorry, around accessibility and usability. So it would be really great to get some people in who are specialized in those areas.
Yeah, accessibility, and probably there are a few design issues also on the Claro side, for example, to take care of these paragraphs issue that we were discussing before, or other issues that actually need review on Claro that are blocking other issues. So that could be super helpful.
And Rachel asked an interesting question, but more sort of a gear for me to make a statement is, she wanted to know if we regarded success this afternoon as issue closed or getting people involved. And I'd like to say getting people involved, getting to know the team, getting to know where folks can come back week after week, because definitely like establishing rapport with people, either in Slack or in these spaces, at Contrib Days really helps bring people back continually, because the one-offs are nice, but it's really about building the relationships with contributors, because when you have knowledge and you can move that forward to issue, it really helps the momentum of the project for people to continue to contribute through time. And then, taking this initiative to the smaller local and regional camps and having someone who we may meet here be able to lead a sprint day, at Drupal Camp Asheville, something like that. So yeah, the goal is more about getting people involved and excited about working on the project. Unless you folks feel something different.
No. Well said. And no, we were all nodding a lot while you were speaking. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's see, I think one just went up. Do we have a list of issues that are featured in the session presentation? Are those issues that you folks mentioned, are they tagged? Okay, so the tag is easy out of the box and North America 2021. And then some of them might have an additional tag like media or needs issue summary. But if you go into that advanced search and do easy out of the box, you'll pull up all of them. And then if we want to refine it a little bit more to issues that we thought we might work on this week, it would be North America 2021. But a lot of them are tagged accessibility. If they're accessibility, issue triage is something we're looking for. So if you go into an issue and you kind of break it down and help us get steps to replicate, create child issues. Some of them are marked review, but patches have been tested. So confirming that a patch that a patch applies and the code looks good, and maybe moving some of those from needs review to RTBC. So there's all different kinds of things that people can do in the issue queue. Can paragraphs be embedded using Layout Builder, and should you?
Oh, well stated at the end there. The first answer is yes. And the second answer is, how much do you want to do it? No, I mean, yeah, there's nothing technically preventing it. And honestly, I think that paragraphs used in conjunction with Layout Builder is infinitely, you're going to have a much better time than trying to use paragraphs nested within paragraphs for layout purposes. Yeah, I don't want to be held liable if I say you should do it, but you absolutely can do it. Completely valid and legitimate way to build a website.
Great. So we're kind of at time. I want to be mindful of the people who want to move on to the new presentations and be mindful of everyone's time. But this afternoon, after the content delivery part of DrupalCon is over, you can either go to the DrupalCon website and pull up the tab for contributions and scroll to the bottom, and there'll be a link to join Open Social. Or if you're already part of Open Social, come on over. There will be a first-time contributor workshop. There will be a meet and greet with all of us. That Open Social platform is a work in progress, so I'm interested to see what's different from what we did yesterday. But you know, just come and hang out and find out how you can help us. So that would be greatly appreciated. And thanks, Sasha, Tim, Emily, and Christina for answering questions.
Thanks, Amy June, for moderating this. This has been great.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.